And now it's time for the super cool, totally wicked, blow your mind against the wall, legend, wait for it, Dary Show.
Hello and welcome again to our podcast. My name is Oliver West.
I'll be Ryan Jones.
And this week we're just going to talk about music. I'm a big fan of punk music and Ryan's a somewhat fan of dubstep, and we're going to try and convince each other to listen to our opposing music. So the reason I like punk and the reason I got into punk, firstly, was through listening to Green Day. I remember going into HMV and like having a friend who said, you should get more into like rock music and stuff like that. So I went in there and I literally picked up the first 3 CDs that I saw. And one was Aerosmith, Greatest Hits, which was actually quite fun to listen to. Love in the Elevator and all that. And Dude Looks Like a Lady. How do you come up with songs like that? And the other one was Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory. And the last one was American Idiot by Green Day.
Great song.
I love that CD. It's like the greatest CD I've ever owned in my whole life. There's such great songs that got commercially successful, like American Idiot, When September Ends, Jesus of Suburbia, and Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and all that. And but I also like the under songs, like Give Me Novocaine, I think one of them was, and What's Her Name, and the way the CD goes as well. It's kind of like a rock opera story of this one guy who meets a person called Saint Jimmy, and his name's the Jesus of Suburbia, and he just kind of like wants to see the world in a different way. And it was kind of funny, and like I was going through a rough part of my life at that stage, so like all I would do walking to school, walking around school, doing anything was just putting on my iPod and listening to this whole CD over and over and over again. So that's probably why I haven't listened to it fully in a while, because it's so drummed into my brain I can't really get it out, so it's always in there. But yeah, I started listening to Green Day, and then I started listening, heard about other bands that were like Green Day. So I started listening to Blink and My Chemical Romance and all these other bands, but it was never really punk. It was more like pop punk type thing, the commercially successful 90s punk. And I tried to listen to the 2009 Green Day album, which was 21st Century Breakdown. And at first I was like, no, I'm not listening to this. This is not American Idiot. They're going to change it. They've changed it all. And I hated it. And then I listened to it recently properly, because I bought it randomly just for like £1 this marketplace. So
nice to support your music industry there.
I know, I'm so great at it. When I first started, most of my music's off LimeWire. 100% of my music was off LimeWire, and I'm like, maybe I should buy a few CDs, show my support. But yeah, I got into them, and I started listening to other punk like Rancid and Sex Pistols and Ramones, and they all became big parts of my life, and I just kind of fell in love with the passion of it. It's not the greatest music ever, it's kind of actually poor music, but it's just music that someone's got up, bought a guitar, had a few ideas in his head, and he stand up on stage and started singing. And it's just more about the passion and the pride rather than the music, which is quite nice. And then you have Green Day and Blink-182 and Rancid, who took that idea and made it into good music as well. I would recommend listening to like the whole Green Day album, the whole of Blink-182's, all of their albums, because I think I've fallen more in love with them than I have with Green Day, which is like blasphemy for me. Yeah, but Rancid Outcome the Wall CD was amazing. And I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with it. And that's why I think everyone, not just Ryan, should listen to punk music at least once.
Yeah, so I kind of think that dubstep as a music genre deserves its own recognition because, you know, it's still a music type, it's still a required skill. I was watching a video on YouTube a couple of days ago, actually, and I didn't actually realise the majority of people done this, but they just had a load of tunes sort of recorded. But this guy had a touchpad with sort of, I don't know, about 8 kind of these large square buttons, and he was, you know, hitting them in really quick succession to produce the different electronic noise that comes with dubstep, and then to sort of get the tune to drop and to sort of drag a note out. He sort of like slid both his hands down the keys, and that represented another tune. So he was doing all of the backing drumming. So, you know, if you imagine a bit like on the keyboard apps that you can do where you change it and it becomes a drum kit and you tap the keys and it represents the cymbal stuff. He was doing that. And then on top of doing the backbeat whilst he was playing a quite popular club tune anyway, he was then dragging his hands down and adding the dubstep element to it. So he was sort of like making a dubstep tune live in a club, sort of like mixing all the tunes together. You know, I kind of think it deserves its own recognition as a music type because that's a skill set to be able to do that and to know when to change your own beat and to mix tunes and stuff, you know, obviously comes with the DJ side as well. I mainly listen to Skrillex because I think he's sort of the main kind of dubstep artist. He does the most sort of songs that I like. as a music genre itself, obviously there's no kind of like story, there's no background to why this dubstep tune's come about. You know, they're not singing from the heart or any of this kind of stuff. It literally is just music to get you upbeat, get you pumped, get you psyched for a night out, or just pick your spirits up. And because it's upbeat and it's fast, even the majority of people, even you, Ollie, that doesn't even like it that much, you can't help but, you know, sort of move a little bit and get a little bit happy. I mean, as sad as this is going to sound, if I'm sitting there and I'm really struggling with a bit of coursework and my iTunes on shuffle, the second that a dubstep tune comes on, I'm instantly uplifted. And like I said, as sad as it really sounds, I'll sit there and I'll kind of like bop about and bounce in my office chair in that for a bit, kind of really get into it as if I was out on a night out. And then, you know, it's a really good uplifter just to really get you. I mean, obviously people can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but you know, if you imagine that your mood's like at a mid-level when you're going out and you're like, oh yeah, we're going out, and then you listen to me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, you listen to dubstep tunes and then you're like, yeah, we're going out, get on it, you know. And again, I mean, with a lot of genres sort of like rock and punk, they're a lot more got background story and from the heart, but you can't really dance, or all right, if you want to grind, fair enough, but you can't do that kind of stuff. Oh, you can mosh, right? So they have mosh, but then if you're out on a night out on a club, so you have the intention of going out with your friends, getting drunk, so you probably won't remember the night, and you just want to have a good time, go a bit nutty, go a bit wild. You can't do wild kind of out of it dancing to rock or punk music because it just doesn't go, and you're probably going to look a bit silly. Whereas with all sort of like club tunes and dubstep tunes and stuff, because the backbeat is so catchy, so fast and so full on, you can literally do the whole crazy thing of not even really doing a dance move, just kind of thrashing yourself about, especially if you kind of think now with all this massive hype with like Harlem Shake and stuff like that, you know, all these videos have now come out, it's not even a dance, but the second that tune comes out in the club, everybody's just going to start doing like the little random, you know, sort of like shuffle with your body, or, you know, probably most of the gents will do the kind of like air hump type move, and then when it drops, everybody
I'm a
will
master of that.
Well, that's the thing, and then when it drops, everybody will just go mental because these tunes are instantly recognisable. The big bands like Green Day and that, and Blink-182, I'm not taking anything away from them. Obviously, people wouldn't hear those tunes, they come on. And especially, like, for me, who kind of into all genres of music, I'm like, oh, it's this tune, or oh, it's that tune. And then, like, dubstep comes on, and then you can go mental to that. And then when, like, I'll even mention Lollipop and stuff like that, they normally do a set where they then chuck in some rock music and some indie stuff and punk and things like that. And you get a good mix in that sense. But like I said, you know, the main reason why I think that people should listen to dubstep and enjoy it is just because you shouldn't listen to it as a song type, as in like, oh, I want to listen to the lyrics and this is really good. Just listen to it as a backbeat to get drunk and just have an uplift, go mental kind of songs. So, yeah, nice. That's why I enjoy them and why I think other people should enjoy them too.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us again, and thanks for listening. Give us your opinion on what genre is better. Do you think punk is better, or do you think dubstep is better, or any other genre, really? If you've got any questions, we're always available to ask, and we'll be coming back next week with probably more content that you really should listen to. So from me, Oliver West.
And me, Ryan Jones.
We'll see you next week.